Jerry back with Theatrically Jerry, and today I'm reviewing this generic and super affordable 100-watt blinder. You can find this for purchase on Amazon as well as Temu, and I'll put the link down below. So included with purchase is obviously the main fixture. You're also getting a user manual. This is just one printed out page folded in half, so nothing too elaborate. But this fixture isn't super advanced, so you don't need a whole lot of info. You do get your 8-channel description for DMX, as well as your menu system for the LED display, and a couple of technical specifications that we'll go over later. You're also getting a IEC power cable, not a PowerCon, so keep that in mind. If you've ever watched my reviews, I prefer PowerCon. IECs are just not really for lights, in my opinion. But, yep, you're getting one of those. And you're also getting a 3-pin DMX cable. So this is a very generic DMX cable that you're getting with this fixture. This fixture measures in at 7.7 inches long by 5.3 inches high by 5.1 inches deep. So not an overly large fixture by any means. It weighs in at 3.6 pounds, so super lightweight, and that's thanks to its aluminum shell. The front of this fixture features 2 polycarbonate optics, so these aren't actually glass lenses here. They are basically a acrylic sheet. Behind the acrylics optics are 2 polished aluminum reflectors. These reflectors cause a very wide 90-degree beam angle. It's important to have a wide beam angle for blinders to get the right effect. We'll check out just how wide the beam angle is later on in this video. The main LEDs here, as you can see, they're actually split in half, so there's a left and a right to this. They are 100-watt COBs, or chip-on boards. So they are designed specifically for the white spectrum. We have cool white at 5600K. 5600K isn't very cool, in my opinion. I would consider anything over 7000K as cool white. But this one's coming in at 5600K, and we'll make sure that that's correct later on in the review. These are just manufactured specs that I'm giving you right now. You also have a 3200K warm white. I would consider 2500K to be a nice warm color. 3200K is getting a little more neutral, so we'll look at that later on in the review as well to see just how warm it is. And you also get the mixture of both, so both of these can turn on, and that means you're going to mix 5600K with 3200K, and that's going to create a neutral 4400K white light. Let's go ahead and take a look at the back of this fixture. So the back of this fixture features a fairly typical LED display. However, instead of red glass, they've chosen blue. I like the blue glass look better, and it also contrasts well with the red LEDs that are behind it. So I was glad to see that they included that. Directly above the screen here is a mic cutout hole. Behind it is a microphone, and it's used for the sound active mode. I was glad to see that they included that as well. Below the screen here, we have our menu, up, down, and enter buttons, and they feel nice. They make an audible click when you press them. They don't feel cheap, so I was glad to see that they included those. Directly below the buttons here, we have our 3-pin DMX in and out, and that is for chaining data to this. So you can actually daisy chain these fixtures, or you can also DMX out to a different fixture if you want. To the left is your safety rope steel fisheye hook. So I was glad to see that they included this. This is for safety cabling. You should always have a safety cable on all of your light fixtures, regardless of their size or how much they weigh, because they are hanging above people's heads. So loved seeing that. You don't really see this on cheaper fixtures, so I was pleasantly surprised to see that. And to the left of that is this gold Phillips head, and you're probably wondering what that is. Well, they label it below it. This is a ground screw. Now, I don't really care for fixtures that have their ground screws just out in the open like this. I prefer to see them hidden, but ground is a safety feature, so there's another one right there. So we have two safety features. And to the left of that is your IEC power port, and this is to plug in your IEC power cable. Another safety feature right below it here is a 250 volt fuse. So if there's any ground issues with this fixture, this fuse is going to blow on it. So that's another safety feature. So there's 3 safety features just on the back of this light fixture. You are also getting a metal mounting bracket or yoke here. You have oversized plastic thumb screws. They're easy to screw and unscrew. They did include a rubber washer behind them for added traction. So this is going to be how you're going to mount this fixture. It has 3 holes here. That is to attach your M8 or M10 bolt for your C-clamp. So you're going to be able to clamp this to a truss system. So I love seeing that. Or it also is for just holding this fixture up if you're going to have it on a flat surface. The only thing I am going to say about it is that the fixture itself will not sit flat like this on its own if you do not have this attached. If I unattach this, it just tips over, I guess due to its weight. But I was glad to see that they included that, and this metal is rather thick, so it's not going to bend or stress under weight. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and power this on to check out the built-in menu system. To power this on, it doesn't have an on and off switch. You just have to plug it into power. So we're going to go ahead and plug it in. So the DMX channel here is going to say D. This is fairly typical for budget-friendly fixtures. The user interface is going to be very similar. So D001 means my fixture's on channel 1. You can go from 1 to 512 with this. This is a 8-channel mode, so you're going to have 8 channels of DMX control. Next on our menu system is the built-in macros. So built-in macros are shows that the manufacturer has programmed into the fixture that you can select from. So as you can see, this says SO01. This is sound active mode 1. There's also sound active mode 2. So you're getting 2 different looks with sound active mode. You're also getting 10 built-in macros. These are going to cause different looks for this fixture. You can select from 1 to 10, and then it's going to go right back to your sound active mode. Next, we have ST. That is for strobe. This fixture does strobe anywhere from 0 to 16, 16 being the fastest strobe on this, and 0 being the slowest. So you can do strobe with this as well. SN is for sound active mode, so this is another menu. This is going to adjust the sensitivity of the mic for sound active mode, and you can go from 0 to 16 on this as well. SP means speed, and that is the speed of the built-in macros. So you can adjust how quickly the macros cycle through, and that goes from 1 to 16 as well. This is your white here, so you're going to be able to choose the intensity of each white color. So you're going to be able to choose your warm white, your neutral, and also your cool white. So you can set this anywhere from 0 to 255 because it's a DMX channel. And then you're back to your DMX address here. This fixture is capable of a 0 to 100% linear dimming. So what that means is it's supposed to have a smooth dimming from its intensity on highest to lowest. So right now I have it running a macro just to show you guys kind of how smooth the dimming is on this. And I'm going to be honest, it's not bad. I mean, the dimming is super smooth. We're going to go ahead and look at the dimming a little better here. Alright, so I actually have this hooked up to DMX with my DMX controller, and we're going to go ahead and check out the linear dimming on this. So right now I have it at 0, and we're going to bring it up to 100. And this is on the warm white setting. If you notice, you can actually see some banding with these LEDs, so keep that in mind if you're a photographer or videographer. I have this set to 1/750th of a second, and there is some slight banding, but the higher you go with your frame rate on your camera, the more banding you're going to get. So as you can see, there's banding there at 1/4000th of a second. It seems to not be as bad at 1/750th of a second. Let's go ahead and check out how smooth the dimmer is here. So I'm going to bring this down to 0. So we have a very smooth dim here. It's not theater quality because at 1 out of 255 on the dimmer channel, it's still on, as you can see, and then 0, it's off. But if you dim this down slowly, you're not going to see that. So the dimmer is definitely acceptable in my eyes here. It also looks fine being projected onto my back studio wall when I'm dimming. You don't see any steps, so that's definitely a plus. We can go ahead and check out the cool white as well. So I'm going to bring up cool white. There's our cool white light. Again, it has a nice smooth dimming. 1 though is on and 0 is off still, so definitely not theater quality dimming, but you're not really going to use these very often in a theater setting. They're also definitely not bright enough for that. Don't get me wrong, these are blinders, so they are bright. They're just not, 300 watt plus theater lighting, so keep that in mind as well. We can actually go ahead and bring up the warm white and the white and create our neutral here. So here's our neutral white. Let's see how well they dim when they're both together. So I'm not getting any stepping on this as well. That's good, except for at the very bottom. So from 0 to 1, it's going to be just slightly on, as you can see. But it's definitely smooth dimming, so I definitely approve of this, especially if you're doing, gigs or DJ events or weddings where people aren't too prone to know what stepping is, or theater quality dimming, obviously. Alright, so now we're actually going to go ahead and look at strobe. The strobe on this states that it's a 0 to 10 hertz strobe. 10 hertz doesn't really do anything for me. That's a super low refresh rate. I prefer 20 and up, 25 being ideal, 30 being spectacular, obviously, but this is a budget-friendly blinder, so let's just see how well the strobe is on this. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the strobe channel. So I have this on 6 of 255 on channel 2, which is for strobe. It doesn't seem to want to strobe any slower than this, so it's definitely not a 1 strobe per second. It's a little faster than that. So you're not going to get a super slow strobe with this blinder. I'm going to bring up the strobe channel. So as you can see, the higher up we go on the strobe channel, the faster the strobe's going to be. So this fixture is actually capable of strobing rather quickly. I would definitely say it's a 15 hertz strobe, not a 10 hertz. It's definitely not a 20 because you can actually see the individual refresh rate of the strobe here. So definitely 15 hertz in my opinion, looking at it with my eyes. I was kind of disappointed to see that you can't go any slower than this, but that's all right. We're going to go ahead and check out the cool white for strobe, because a lot of times with strobes you're going to want a really crisp white light. So either this cool white or the neutral white is going to give you that kind of lightning look. Again, it's the same as the warm white. And if we want to, we can mix in the warm white and create a neutral white. So here's neutral white strobe. And the strobe looks great on this. It's by no means awful. It's just not a 20 hertz and up strobe. So you're going to get that little black frame in between each flash, as opposed to when you get a more expensive one, they're going to have a higher refresh rate and you're going to get less of that black frame in between each flash. So as stated earlier, you do get 3 color temperature options with this blinder, and we're going to go ahead and look at those right now. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the cool white here. So the cool white, they're stating, is 5600K, which I would say is pretty accurate because this white isn't very blue, as you can see on my hand. It's almost closer to a cool neutral color. So 5600K is probably accurate for that. We're going to go ahead and look at the warm white. Now, I've actually seen warmer COBs or chip-on boards. I've actually reviewed some, especially on the retro lights that I've reviewed. So this is definitely 3200K. I've seen a lot warmer. The retro lights, like I just mentioned, went down to 2500K, and you got this really deep amber color warm. But this is not a bad warm. It looks great. It doesn't look awful. The Cree on these is at 90, so it's a very high Cree or color render index. So it does make my skin tone look flattering as well. Now we're going to go ahead and check out the neutral. So to get neutral, you do have to blend your warm and your cool white light. This is the neutral here. Neutral is very close to the cool white on this, so there's not a whole lot of difference. This is stating it's 4400K, and the cool white's at 5600K. So the warm, like I said, is at 3200K. So you're not getting too broad of a color temperature spectrum with this blinder. Usually the cool whites are up in the 8s, and the warm whites, like I said, are below 3, with your neutral around 44 to 4600, sometimes 5000K, depending. But like I said, you're not getting a very broad color temperature with this blinder. All right, guys, so it is now sound test time with this stage light. This is our stage blinder. We're going to go ahead and hear just how loud the active cooling system is. So yes, this does have a built-in fan. It seems to be set to a steady pace, so it's not actually adjusting its RPMs. Right now it's on. We're about a foot away. I'm going to go ahead and be quiet so you guys can listen. So it's not loud in my opinion. I'm about 2 feet away and it's just barely audible. On stage you're probably not going to hear this. However, when I bring up the LEDs, and I don't know if you can hear this, but you can actually kind of hear a coil whine coming from the LEDs. So it's actually technically coming from the PSU or power supply. You can actually hear a little ringing sound when these are brought up to full. And I'm going to go ahead and bring my camera closer just so you can maybe hear it a little better. Alright, so I'm about 4 inches away from this blinder. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's definitely an audible whine coming from the PSU or power supply unit on this blinder. It's not super loud, but it is noticeable, especially from me being 2 feet away. I can definitely hear it. You're probably not going to hear it when it's about 10 feet away, but there is a ringing sound. Alright, so I wanted to show you guys just how bright these are. So I'm shining this on a wall. It's about 15 feet away. It's my back studio wall. Just to give you guys an idea of about how bright these are going to be from 15 feet away. So there is my back wall here. And while they're not dim, they're not the brightest lights I've ever seen. So you have to keep that in mind as well. I would recommend these from about 15 feet away is going to be your max for getting a nice bright effect. Any further away, it's just going to become more and more dim, so keep that in mind. But from up close, they're so bright that they actually overexpose my hand, so that's pretty cool. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments about this generic 100-watt light fixture, go ahead and leave them down below. I do respond to all questions and comments as quickly as I can. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel at Theatrically Jerry. I do a lot of review on budget-friendly and generic light fixtures. I do tutorials on DMX consoles and tearing apart lights. Anything that interests me, I'm putting on my channel at Theatrically Jerry. So, if that interests you as well, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And thank you guys for watching.